Greetings, Internet faithful. This is some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and this is my hot take for NXT for May 30th, 2018. And I gotta say, you know, ever since I signed up for the WWE Network on the day before WrestleMania, actually, sorry, 2 days before WrestleMania, signed up on the Friday before WrestleMania, it's always been NXT that has kept me going, regardless of how bad Monday Night Raw has been, regardless of how repetitive and nonsensical SmackDown Live could get, no matter how mundane and pedestrian pay-per-views like Greatest Royal Rumble and Backlash could be, I could always count on NXT to provide me with something that was entertaining. In fact, it would usually be my favorite show of the week. It would usually be NXT, followed by 205 Live, followed by whichever of Raw or SmackDown was the least offensive. Usually SmackDown. This week is different. This is the first time that I can honestly say that NXT was worse than Monday Night Raw. I've said it. I mean it. I'm not walking it back. This was a truly pointless episode of NXT. This was an episode of NXT that happened because we have way too long to go before NXT TakeOver Chicago, and we need to put something on the air, but we don't know quite what. So we start off with a recap, yet another retelling of the Gargano-Ciampa angle, where this time they are now actively lifting elements from what Impact Wrestling is doing with the Eddie Edwards-Sami Callihan feud. And if you don't believe me, watch Impact, because you know what? Impact's actually doing this better. Anyway, it's now announced that Ciampa Gargano 2 is going to happen. It's going to happen at TakeOver Chicago. It's going to be a Chicago street fight. And to be quite honest, this is completely unnecessary. This is a dead-end match that does absolutely nothing, because the match that they had at TakeOver New Orleans, their 5-star match, by the way, was amazing. You're not going to top this. You're probably not even going to get close to the level that match was initially. And if you want proof of trying to recreate the lightning in a bottle that is a very highly rated match that really got fans into everything, let's take a look at what happened between Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, where everybody thought at WrestleMania they were going to light the place up like they had at Wrestle Kingdom 10, only to have a merely okay match. The match at TakeOver New Orleans was absolutely brilliant. They're not going to top it. And now they're not only extending this to, past the point of relevancy, but they're now starting to bring in elements that another promotion is doing better. And I don't see this working for them. Okay, let's get off of that. And of course, we have to talk about, actually, before I move on, we have to talk about how stupid it was with the whole, they're not here tonight, but they've got to sign their paperwork and bring it back to GM William Regal. Somebody, at least one of them is there. Somebody's going to do something. Somebody's going to grab a microphone. One of either Ciampa and Gargano, in this case, it was Gargano, who walked out in the middle of a match, ruining basically any chance that match was going to be any good, and did the whole "I brought my homework, teacher, I'm in the match," and honestly, we didn't need that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We get Aleister Black coming out to the ring, and of course he wants to know who's going to challenge him for his title. Out comes Lars Sullivan, who cuts an overly long promo about how how big he is, how dominant he is. Yeah, okay, it was impressive that Lars Sullivan caught the spinning heel kick with the one hand. That was actually not bad. That was pretty impressive. The problem is that Lars Sullivan's finisher is not particularly impressive. It looks like a really, really awkward Uranagi slash sidewalk slam. It's like he can't figure out which one he wants it to be, so he's trying to hit both at the same time, and it just looks awkward. It's a side slam. That's it. And he's slower and he's less agile. Not to say that he's a complete schlub, but he's I I don't know. There's not a lot of build to this match, and I'm not seeing it being very good at Takeover Chicago. This is just sort of a we need to have a title defense. Let's slap two guys in the ring together and see what happens. I'm not predicting that this is going to be very good. We get the War Raiders versus a couple of jobbers. It's absolutely a nothing match. And then we get the latest incarnation of the Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler program. And this is going to come back to really irritate me later, but I'll get to that in a little bit. We get EC3. We get an interview with Lacey Evans. Don't care. We get EC3 versus Fabian Eichner. During the match, which itself was very lackluster, out comes Johnny Gargano to basically say that he has brought his homework. He brought his homework early. He wants some extra credit for being the first guy to sign up for the Chicago Street Fight at Takeover Chicago. We end the pointless match, which, EC3 wins. Then we get another Who is Bianca Belair promo, where she talks about being the est of NXT. Again, long, pointless, doesn't really serve a purpose. Okay, we get it. We've seen you in the ring. It's not like you're debuting anytime soon. You're already there. Just have her have a match. The only highlight of the night comes up next with Ricochet facing some guy. I'm going to apologize for. I'm reading. I wrote down his name, but I don't remember how it's pronounced. Chris Dijak, I'm guessing. There are two highlights of this entire show, and Ricochet had them both. One is the snap suplex that rolls through, turning into a deadlift suplex before hitting the 630 for the finisher. And then the second was during the Velveteen Dream, taunting Ricochet from the ramp, and Ricochet running up, leaping over the top rope without touching anything, completely hands-free, just sort of leaps over the top rope, flips in the air, lands on his feet on the ramp, walks up to Velveteen Dream, who looked like he just basically saw a ghost. That was your highlight of the night, folks. That was it. It never got better than that. It never got better than a post-match promo throughout the entire show. And that's kind of scary. And even scarier is the next thing we get, which is Shayna Baszler and Dakota Kai. How many weeks have we been building up to this? How many of these press conference type junkets have we been forced to endure? How many of these deer caught in a headlight segments where Dakota Kai looks like she's about ready to shit herself, like a fourth grader who has to deliver a book report for a book that they haven't read yet? And this match was boring as hell. It was completely one-sided. It was completely dull. There were some audible boring chants during this match. This match was it wasn't even an extended squash. This was like watching a rehearsal for a match before a match actually took place in front of a live crowd. It's like, okay, we're going to do this spot now, and now we're going to kind of milk this spot. It was just dull as hell. And it actually angered me to watch this. I actually wondered why I kept watching, Because I was looking at the time saying, okay, there's time for something to happen. And just when you think something's going to happen, nothing happens. And you wait a little longer and you say, okay, it's really coming toward the end now. Are we going to see something? No, we're not. We get nothing. This match was a nothing. This show was a nothing. And I'm going to say it again. This show was less entertaining than Monday Night Raw was this week. Because at least with Monday Night Raw, I had a little bit of a headcanon moment where I could have seen what I could have done with the various pieces. I could have imagined what I would do if I were in charge of the show. With this show, the only thing I wanted it to do was end so I could get back to doing whatever it is that I was going to do. I'm not even particularly looking forward now to seeing what happens next week. That's how lackluster this show was for me. Anyway, that's my hot take. Say what you will. Leave your point of view in the comments. Thumbs up if you think I'm right on. Thumbs down if you think I'm way off base. But hey, let me know why in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. And until next time, take it easy.